Hello, and welcome to Chibi's Cult Classics, where the films of the obscure, controversial, and just plain eccentric are reviewed. Now, for a minute, let's talk about the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
A mix of fishnets, B-movie schlock, and glam rock, along with a story about an innocent couple that come to a castle, inhabited by the strangers not of this world that try to give themselves over to absolute pleasure. Rocky Horror is quite certainly a phenomenon from the 70s. Tim Curry sings the tunes like a demented second coming of Ethel Merman, while Richard O'Brien's version of an Igor figure makes a decent bit of competition with Boris Karloff, and the fresh faces of Barry and Susan are transformed into household names. It didn't take long for the fans to keep coming back for more, to dress as their favorite characters, sing and dance along, and talk back to the screen. The film is known for its joys and hedonism, and branched out and inspired many other movies and shows, becoming an even bigger success.
And like any other huge success comes the... Gentlemen, without further ado, I give you the sequel, proclaimed to be the equal, the 1981 classic by Richard O'Brien.
I've just come to tell you how fabulous I am.
Forget everything you know about newlyweds Brad and Janet Majors and the events involving an alien transvestite for the time being. There will be no aliens or references to classic science fiction, B-movies, or horror films. No Barry, no Susan. What we have now is a different couple to play the pair for the new decade. This time the role goes to Cliff DeYoung for Brad Majors, an actor from films like The Hunger and even a miniseries by Stephen King. Janet Weiss, or should I say Janet Majors, is now played by Jessica Harper, known primarily for her main role in Dario Argento's Suspiria. But there are a few familiar faces out there to put a smile on our faces. Though familiar, they hold different identities than what we knew them as before. Our tub of warm waters of sins of the flesh will now be drained clean, and refilled by misunderstood reality and game show satire. This movie is quite different from its predecessor, which caused the movie to be, well, not as much beloved by the Rocky Horror fans. For its time, no one could quite understand the satire, seeing as back then there were less game shows in reality television than now. The movie is definitely a cult classic, but never quite managed to stack up to Rocky Horror. You could say being the sequel to Rocky Horror is both a blessing and a curse. Without Rocky, this movie would probably not catch as many fans' interest, yet with it, people even today consider this quite a terrible sequel for the franchise.
So let's take a look at this classic monstrosity, masterpiece? Monstrosity, film.
The story starts off with a song that welcomes you to the setting of the film. A town called Denton, ran entirely by a television studio, in which the citizens, or should I say cast and audience of the town, muse about their home as a pleasant suburbia like any other American town.
Singing voices like that, I beg to differ.
When the song is over, we meet anchorwoman Betty Hapschatt, accompanied by Judge Wright, the leading social scientist of Denton. They begin a brief discussion about the presentation.
Did you enjoy our anthem?
In a way.
I detect a note of reticence. Are you perhaps one of those amongst us who feel this emotive form of presentation is overly manipulative?
Well, Betty, there are many ways that the spider may catch the fly.
In other words,
are you enjoying the show? Am I coming across as too needy?
like me.
Soon the show ends to let the next come up, Marriage Maze. Marriage Maze is presented to us by a blind Austrian man named Bert Schnick, which is played by Barry Humphries, a comedian who is well known for his role as Dame Edna. The game is a supposed game show in which a spouse has the opportunity to have significant others committed into an asylum in hopes that this will solve marriage issues. Bert gives Janet the chance to send Brad to the asylum because
Brad's an emotional cripple.
He's a little boring.
before Janet comes to her decision of whether she wants to have him committed or not, Brad refuses to play along, only to have his feelings about the situation ignored. Janet wants this to happen, so they begin to reflect in song where their relationship is going.
Dear Blender,
You won't blend into the background with us in your home.
won't you help the first offender? Oh, toaster,
Caught up in the popularity ratings.
don't you put the burn on me.
Look at this.
Refrigerator, why are we always sooner or later? Bitching in the kitchen or crying in the bedroom all night.
Ladies, go up to your man and ask him, if the circumstances were right, would you ever be committed to an asylum for the entertainment of millions and millions of viewers? If he says yes, just without hesitation, marry him. Marry him.
Singing to kitchen appliances must have helped with Janet's decision because Brad is immediately taken to Dentonvale, an asylum ran by Dr. Cosmo and Nation McKinley. No. Really? There we go. This incestuous brother-sister doctor duo, try saying that 3 times fast, assures Janet that everything will be okay as they fix Brad's problem. But the trouble is, they can't seem to find anything wrong. So figuring out that his parents may not be living, they use this on Marriage Maze to find a possible mental problem through Janet's mother.
Infantile regression?
You got it? She got it.
Later on, Janet visits her caged husband and assures her through song that she still loves him despite the fact that she believes he needs a mental fix-up. She then visits her parents, feeling bad for what she's done. Her mother comforts her, assuring that he needed the treatment, gives her a new dress identical to hers, and invites her in. Her father comes in and they begin a topic that turns into a joke with the borderline of homophobia and racism.
And thank goodness he hasn't ended up like that Slipstreeny boy.
What are you talking about? Danny Slipstreany's a chip off the old block. I played 18 holes of golf with his father just last week, and Hank says that Danny's moved to New York to better himself.
He moved all right. And they found him at the back of Wilson's bakery. Naked. With 15 other men.
Mexicans.
You shouldn't have said that.
Why?
Your father doesn't like Mexicans.
Dad's masculinity is threatened by such topics, so he decides that the backyard needs mowed. Yes, even the most astroturf of yards need a trim now and then too. He's a man, a symbol of masculinity, one who shows never the blood or the tears. And so he breaks out into song.
A man should call the toss, wear the pants, and be the boss. A man should be the drink, for his own damn sake. Faggots are maggots. Thank God I'm a man.
Says the guy in the musical.
At the same time, the doctors and the game show host plot an idea for Janet while Brad is in the crazy house, just when Betty Hapshat and Judge Wright suspect something fishy going on in the studio. As if it wasn't fishy enough that the entire town turning into a TV studio wasn't fishy in the first place, along with the possibility of being replaced by younger, more attractive cast members for the show. Janet soon arrives for the meeting with the doctors, and they introduce her to a man on the television, which is seen in several other scenes, looking onto them from a dark room of monitors. Clearly the villain, but one lab cat away from being one of a Saturday morning variety. He is actually the owner of the studio Farley Flavors, another role played by Cliff DeYoung. He's seen her from the monitors with a growing interest and gives her an offer she can't refuse: to be famous. He assures her that working with him and his New World Order is the right choice.
I'm gonna shoot for the moon, I'm gonna play high noon, I'm gonna take on the entire human race. You're not looking at a king, you're looking at an ace.
Distracted by the chance for fame and probably thinking of the world takeover thing is probably just part of the song or something not being too worried about, she begins to feel concern about Brad's opinion, only to gullibly believe the doctors when she is convinced Brad no longer wants anything to do with her. Eventually she is also convinced to accept the offer in hopes this will gain Brad's love and mental health once again.
Because when you're famous, all disabilities just poof away, right, Janet?
Janet and the rest head to bed and break out in what may be the sexiest lullaby in, well, lullaby history.
I feel the heat from your skin and the stubble on your chin. You're no good.
You're no good.
Oh, romance is not a children's game, but you keep going back. It's driving you insane. Meow.
The sun starts shining. The birds start chirping.
Does this bird belong to you?
Everyone wishes each other good morning.
Nice to see you up and about.
Oh, what a beautiful way to start the day.
Janet approaches Dr. Cosmo, unsure what to wear for the big TV debut. The worry doesn't last long, as the doctor quickly weaves her an attire for the show while singing a Fred Schneider B-52s-esque tune.
Well, first you go rip, rip, rip. Then you go snip, snip, snip. Then you whip it up, zip, zip, zip. I split it up to the hip, hip, hip. And as you strip, 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 you shiver and quiver for that soft caress as you slip, slip, slip into that little black dress.
Hoopla!
And the results?
Well, first you go rip, rip, rip. Then you go snip, snip, snip.
Then you're whipping a zip, zip, zip. Split up to the hip, hip, hip.
Then as you strip, strip, strip,
Oh, you quiver, shiver.
for that soft caress as you slip, slip, slip into that little black dress.